GameStop is in trouble. Now, I'm sure you've seen many other people cover this story, but I wanted to talk a bit about it because I have always actually enjoyed GameStop. I understand the criticisms against it. I think it deserves a lot of the criticisms it does receive. But my local GameStop, as I've said many, many times over, has done nothing but respectful towards me as a gamer, both a Nintendo gamer, heck, a Nintendo content creator even. And they've always been very, very friendly and continually do things for me to earn spending money there, or for them to earn the right for me to spend their money there, over places like Walmart or Best Buy or really any other option I have in this area to buy games locally. Obviously, you can always buy them online, Amazon, all that great stuff, and you can get them digitally. Now, what am I talking about with GameStop? Why am I talking about how much I enjoy them? Well, GameStop is in, let's just say, some trouble. Their whole business model built around the used game market has essentially crashed. It's down 13% or 13.2 or 3 or whatever percent over the prior fiscal quarter, and they have reported a net loss of $488.6 million in their financial third quarter, and they have also lowered their projected results for the fourth quarter. Now, this doesn't necessarily, if you actually dive deep into the reports, you'll see the 488.6 million number is a nice headline grabber, but it's not necessarily the whole story. There's a lot of acquisitions and sell-offs in there. One of the sell-offs they recently did was of an acquisition they prior made of a cell phone distribution company they made that you might have saw a bunch of locations pop up next to GameStops or inside of GameStops. If you're in a mall, usually right outside of GameStop. This phone service that it was a verified Verizon carrier they've now sold off for like $700 million or something like that, which they're going to use to pay off debts and all that stuff as they refocus in on, video games and collectibles, which is probably what they should have been doing the whole time. Like when they went out and made the whole ThinkGeek thing or bought ThinkGeek out, that made a lot of sense because it sold a lot of video game collectibles, along with obviously comic books and stuff, but a lot of video game collectibles. So that was a natural expansion to me for them. But everything else they've really done since has been a disaster. They tried the Elite Pro thing. Literally, they had it for less than a year before they canceled the Elite Pro memberships. They tried, a credit card to try to get, gamers to sign up for credit cards that had really, really high interest rates. Even if you had excellent credit, which I don't, but even if you did have excellent credit, the rates on those cards were not good in comparison to what you could basically get almost anywhere else. So that kind of fell through and didn't work for them either. And all of this was to combat essentially the fact that they have been consistently losing money or bleeding money and having their shares devalue really since, the end of the 7th generation, where they, digital purchases weren't as big a deal back on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. They existed, but they weren't a big enough chunk of the market to matter, and people were selling their games like crazy, and they were reselling and making a lot of money in the resellers market, and I don't really have an issue with them doing that. I know a lot of people don't like that, they only gave me, $15 for this game, but they're reselling it for 58, whatever. It's like, you have to understand they're a business. They're trying to make a profit, and there are other game stores that really do similar things. Even the mom and pop shops. I've went and I've sold games at the mom and pop shops. They're not really offering a much better value than GameStop is, and they're also reselling them for pretty high prices. Maybe not quite 58, but it's pretty common to see them at 55 compared to a new game for 60. So it's hard to fault them because that's just how you make money in a used game market. You take on a lot of risk buying used games, hoping you're going to sell them for a profit, and some of those games might sit on the shelves for years. That, say they give me $20-something for NBA 2K19 for Switch, that might never be resold, and that's just a loss for them that they have to eat. So that's the risk you take in the used game market. So as much as there's these high profit margins on these games, you have to understand the risk taken in buying games they're not going to be able to sell. And this is clearly the case because when you go on GameStop, you'll still see games from the first year PlayStation 4 and Xbox came out, or the first year that that Wii U was out, and none of those games are selling. You'll see old games from GameCube and stuff like that. They're just not selling. I know they do sell some of these retro games now online, but still, a vast majority of them don't really move. So I kind of understood the business model. I didn't, like that after like launch week they would cut open all of the rest of the copies they had, so they can have display cases and then put all the copies in sleeves or whatever behind the thing. I understood for space saving purposes why they did it, but it doesn't mean that I liked it. Obviously, there had to have been a better way. I think personally, if I were them, I would have probably went the Walmart route. Whenever they take their games that are expensive outside of the cases, they usually put them in these individually sleeved plastic things that have locks and security locks on them. So people aren't going to be stealing it then, and they can still pick it up and flip it around and read the back and all that stuff. I mean, I know those aren't expensive and everything, but one way you can kind of solve it is try to keep stock of all your brand new copies in the back. You can still do the used games in the sleeves. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but keep your brand new copies sealed in the back and just have like one copy on the shelf of that new game, or multiple copies if it's a game that literally just came out. Just have it in the thing, and then you go back and see if there's any more copies. If not, they get the copy that's in the case and it's still sealed. So personally, that's what I would have done. I would have created a bit more consumer trust, I think. But whatever. That's not where we are today. GameStop today, at the end of 2018, doesn't appear to have a clear path to turn things around. And GameStop's core issue is that physical games are becoming less and less popular. Not just like we talk about the used game market because so much of their profits are built from that, but the physical game market is the same way. Yeah, they had a little bit of growth over the quarter thanks to Red Dead Redemption 2 and some other games, but honestly, while they make a little bit of profit off of those games, they're not going to get resale profit off of it very well, and they're just not going to be able to exist as a company come 10 years from now, maybe even sooner. So obviously what's next for GameStop is continuing to downsize, closing up stores that are just not profitable, which is just what businesses have to do anyway. Sometimes businesses expand too big and you got to close down the non-profitable places. They're not bankrupt yet, and they have some money in the bank, and they'll be floating around for at least another 5 years. But I'm gonna miss GameStop when they're gone, because reality is, just like Blockbuster and similar stores before it, Toys R Us even for a little bit, it's becoming antiquated to go to a single place to buy video games. It became antiquated to go to one store to buy toys. Here's a fun story. At one point in my life, earlier in my life, Eric and I were actually looking into starting up a mom and pop shop video game business, opening up a shop in our local town and selling games and having the ability to host LAN parties and all this stuff. It was going to be a really, really fun to go place that I think a lot of you guys would even enjoy visiting. Unfortunately, after doing the logistics on it, and this was about 10 years ago, we realized that even if we got it up and running and we had the capital and we were even able to pay off the business loan we were going to need to start it all, reality was that the profit margins were so thin, even on selling the used games, because of the inherent cost risk you have to take on every time you buy a copy. Because originally we were going to, let's offer fair pricing, and then we realized, we can't really afford to offer fair pricing because we lose quite a bit of money on that risk of investment. So, and that was even considering, selling some of these copies online, like some of these mom and pop shops do, right? They go online and hit on eBay and try to sell them. But I honestly think that it's a model that it wasn't viable 10 years ago when we were looking into doing it, and I can't imagine it's that viable today. I think GameStop only lasted as long as it has because it had the brand recognition, it had the name. It's a brand people trust. It's a name people trust, despite your grievances against it. A lot of parents and a lot of kids go to GameStop. They know that's where they can get their games. It's where they can get their game consoles. It's where they can get their stuff fixed, even though it's arguable GameStop's refurbishing isn't necessarily the greatest work out there. It's better than nothing for some consumers. And if they want the extended warranty for it, they might as well take advantage of it. But yeah, I'm going to miss it. But again, I think this is... if it wasn't the beginning of the end earlier, it's definitely the beginning of the end now. They claim they're just going to go back to focusing on video games and merchandise around those video games. And I honestly think that's the best thing they can do to try to keep their business afloat for as long as possible. But I honestly don't foresee a way they can turn this around. I don't think creating a cloud gaming service is going to help them. I don't think they already sell, digital currency for different things and digital copies of games. People seem to not care about the fact that you can buy a digital copy of a game from them, and then you'll also get GameStop credit. So as an example on the eShop, you wanna know how awesome the eShop is, so when you put a digital copy of the game on the eShop, you get the gold coin, in the My Nintendo Rewards program, right? You get the gold coin points for it. Well, what you might not realize is if you buy it through GameStop, not only will you get the gold coin points for it for the My Nintendo system, you'll also get the reward points at GameStop, and you can actually double up your reward points and get money off both on the Switch and also at GameStop. So it's actually really, really cool. But here's the thing. Most of you don't take advantage of that. You don't see a point to take advantage of that. You don't look at GameStop as a place to get digital copies of games at. And that's just... Yeah, did you guys even know that? Did you guys know you could walk into GameStop and say, I want to buy a digital copy of this game on this platform, and they could sell you it? Did you even know you could do that? Most consumers don't. So, at the end of the day, I don't know that there's anything GameStop can do to fix it. I honestly think that this is just going to be something we have to accept. GameStop is going to be no more. Brick and mortar, even the mom and pop shops eventually will be no more as well, even though a lot of them already are no more. And yeah, we're going the way of an all-digital future that involves us not having dedicated video game stores to buy physical copies of video games at. And I gotta say, I'm gonna miss it when it happens. So sorry if I don't feel like GameStop going under is, or eventually going under is some sort of yay screw GameStop thing, because it's more representative of the reality of the video game industry getting away from physical copies of games. And even though I'm willing to embrace an all-digital future and game streaming and all, I love all this stuff, I never wanted to have it instead of physical games. And while physical games will still be around for a while and they don't need a GameStop to be around, it does signify a massive shrinking in the physical game market. And yeah, that brings us even closer to that all-digital future. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Rovajans from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do, and if you dislike the video, hit that dislike button. Be sure to enter our Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Switch Bundle giveaway down in the description. It is a 50,000 subscriber giveaway, so all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel to enter, and when we hit 50,000, I will be selecting a winner and sending out that prize. All right, folks, that's going to do it, and I will catch all of you guys in the next one.